Hello, my name is Josh Correa. I'm with J4 Paintball. We are at Paintball Extravaganza and we are being filmed by the excellent guys here at PbNation. I'm going to show you the Torque. This is a stacked tube spool valve gun. Now, difference in this is there is no poppet, there is no nothing else inside here, but for the most part, it really just is a stacked tube gun. The bolt pops out right here. The spool screws out of the back, and everything drops out really quick. When you pull that out, all there is in the internals are these parts right here, the rear manifold and the piston. The rest of the gun is hollow. To show you, here is our old blank. If you look down the tube, you can see right through the bottom tube, and all I've done is taken out the internals. With the rear manifold, it does not move. The piston itself has just a few O-rings. This O-ring, and this O-ring here are the only critical O-rings you'll need to change when you're working on the gun. The action of the gun works by having air come up from the back. It goes through the piston and fills the dump chamber. So the whole front of the gun, this section right here, this is all hollow. There's no moving parts, there's no components in there, there's a couple plugs. That makes the gun very lightweight and also easy to work on. So the piston, due to the bias difference between this O-ring and this O-ring right here, create about 11 pounds of rearward bias, compared to a lot of other guns that run about a 17 to 20 pound forward bias. That makes the gun very, very smooth. To cycle, the air comes through, when the air comes through here, it gets exchanged with the air that's in the dump chamber. It comes right down the piston, goes through here to the back side of the firing area of the piston. Due to the difference in O-rings between this O-ring and this O-ring, very small again, because we're dealing with smaller O-rings and smaller diameters than you'd run into like with a shocker or a shocker-based gun. That creates a forward bias of about 7 to 8 pounds. It's rather light. That moves the gun forward, and as it does that, the spring here presses against an internal valve that just is basically a shim, a spacer here. Presses against the valve, the air comes outside of the O-ring here, goes up through this air path, up through the gun, and out the bolt, much like a standard poppet. This is a stacked tube gun, it's a stacked tube air path. It's not really anything too complex in there. As the pressure goes down in the dump chamber, the spring here pushes back, trapping the air in here. This is trapped between 20 and 40 psi. That air helps the efficiency quite a bit. Now mind you, this is a kind of tortured air path, so it's not going to be super efficient, but it does help it, even though it's a spool, act a lot like a poppet, like a well-tuned poppet. So in the end, you'll have better efficiency, but it won't be the world's best. The end result is a simple, smooth drivetrain that is really very, very easy to work on. The gun itself, as some people commented, they haven't seen the eyes. It's a split body. So when you split the body, we have the bottom and the top sections. Mind you, this is no blank. This is not how it's going to look, unless you beg us. We put the eyes right here. This goes right down, the eyes go up on the side just like a Mini. And then back here is a Hall effect sensor. Now the real treat of this spring here is that it keeps the action mechanical. You'll see later in the shooting video with the mechanical gun how the dwell is affected, and actually the gun comes back and hits a seal point that traps air and also since it makes the dwell completely mechanical, the end result is a gun that doesn't need to be timed. Anything over 8 milliseconds, up to 150, 250, 300, you'll see me hold down the trigger and it'll just stay there. The gun doesn't use any more air and sits. Because of that, we use a Hall effect sensor to time the gun, so the end result is a gun that will always shoot. The Hall effect sensor just makes sure the bolt moves. That means in really nasty conditions, freezing, sticky paint, you get some oil-based paint that is broken everywhere, really thin shell, and you'll be able to pull that bolt out there, and the gun will still cycle, even up to 270 feet per second still, even though it's difficult to remove the bolt from the breech. And I don't think you can get that in any other gun. We have that set up with the Hall effect sensor to basically, you'll have a button that says just soldier on. Everything's gooped, nasty backside of a big field, you'll still be able to get through, you'll still be able to shoot the gun. And that actually is the basics of it. It's a very simple valve design, very simple piston, and the gun itself is mostly empty and hollow. The regulators down here in the grip will have a cam adjuster to turn it on and off. The velocity will be adjusted through here. The front cap doesn't move at all. You just adjust the velocity up through the front, and the air will run up through the back of the airline into the switching mechanism here. And that's it. So let's shoot the gun. So here we have the Mule. Now this is my old test gun, the one I've been using for the last couple of years. And as we have it set up here, it's not cosmetically how it's going to turn out, but this is all the almost exact internals we're going to be running in the final gun. And so for a demonstration, for a shooting demonstration, I brought this in. And as you see, just hand over the barrel. This shows the mechanical operation of the gun is really simple. If you look up here at the top, when we pull the trigger and hold it, this actually sits, goes up, fires, and sits back, retaining the air inside the valve chamber. So this system magically dwells on its own. I'm holding the trigger down. This is a mechanical switch. Dwell can be anything, and the gun will still shoot, and the velocity will not spike. And as you can hear, it's quiet. In fact, that's as loud as the gun is, and as you can see, it's really smooth. This is our Josh Corey with J4 Paintball. You can catch us online on J4 Paintball and Facebook, or j4paintball.com. Or you've probably been following us on the PbNation thread, so feel free to keep going along with that. Obviously these videos and otherwise will be up there. And thank you very much.